Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Analytical Fanboys. I am your host, the Vacuuminator, and I am joined, as always, by the hard-ass Boingo Rider.
I've been doing some squats, yep.
Do the squats. They're good. I do them every day. Soon I will achieve dummy thickness. But for now, we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about The Vision. This is a comic from 2016 written by Mr. Tom King with art by, who was it again? I'm trying to find it. Gabriel Hernandez Walta. That's a name.
That is a name.
This is something I read as it was coming out, and I now also own it in trade, and it's probably one of my favorite Marvel things I've ever made. It's the thing that made me into made me from I like these comic characters to I like this comic writer, and I am actively following him, and I have that with several people now, not just Tom King. Yeah, kind of one of my favorite things. Kind of have had it on the list for a while, and I've wanted Chris to see it. Chris, you're a big Marvel guy. Please tell me you love this.
Oh yeah, no, it is probably, if we look at American comic book superheroes as a canon of literature, this run of The Vision should be up there with like All-Star Superman, The Sandman. In my opinion, Immortal Hulk should go up there, but it's still ongoing. We'll see how that happens. Kingdom Come, Marvels, stuff like that. It should go up there. It is a superhero story, but it functions more as just like a traditional sci-fi story.
Because it also, I noticed an incredible similarity to like paperback thriller novels about like a murder mystery that a suburban family gets involved in. That sounds like an extremely specific subgenre, but there's actually a shit ton of those out there, and I've read a few of them. This is very much like one of those, because the story is basically The Vision moves into this town with a new family that he's created for himself. Like basically a robot wife, son, and daughter.
And eventually a robo-dog.
Yep. And he's trying to replicate suburban life because he couldn't have that with Scarlet Witch. And after a long time of trying to figure out where to go from there, he ended up wiping his memories and sort of starting fresh with this. And it goes wrong in about all of the weird, scary, makes you think about humans and human nature kind of sci-fi ways it possibly can.
Yeah, the whole what is humanity, what is personhood, what is the soul, but also what is the soul in relationship to AI and all that kind of stuff. And it deals with that in a variety of subjects, and The Vision's a perfect character to deal with that, specifically because of his relationship with Ultron. Like this comic, you can get into it and read it without never knowing The Vision, never knowing any of the major history of Marvel Universe. But if you get it, if you already know that, there's subtext and depth there. But if not, there's a different kind of subtext that kind of fills in that gap too. Which makes me feel like it should be like recognized as just a piece of literature all on its own.
I think this was actually taught at a college a few years after its release. I remember Tom King tweeting about that once, like he was in shock.
I mean, I know The Dark Knight Returns is on some syllabuses, and All-Star Superman has been too. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying, like, as a Marvel fan, this is one of the things I'm going to put up as saying, like, this is amazing writing in terms of just writing, not just like, oh, this is a pretty good superhero story. No, this is just good writing.
Yeah, because there's so much in this. There's so many little scenes and moments that have so much to say, and the running narration all throughout it, which has its own consistent story it's telling, but it's different characters telling it depending on the issue. It all has so much going on and so much to think about. Like one of my favorite issues is issue 5 when Vision is being questioned by the police in relation to a murder in his neighborhood, and the narration is just listing off all the times he saved the world, and it keeps going Ultron again, every couple panels.
Which, like, in one regard, yeah, it's kind of a joke about superhero stories and like, oh yeah, Ultron, the big bad guy. But also you realize, oh, Ultron's his dad, and he keeps coming back out and shows how these family problems can never really go away. The trauma and the scars are always going to be there. And that one scene showed it because he is basically creating a new scar on his family right at that moment. And I don't want to say it creates a parallel between himself and Ultron, but it creates kind of like an echo of a rhyme.
Mm-hmm. And another great thing is, I think it's like 2 issues after that when he creates the dog, and the narration in that issue is talking about, like, it's playing over a conversation of after he's freaked out at his wife about the stuff she's done, and he's like, no, I accept it, we're gonna fix this, I'm gonna try and fix this. All the while he's like Frankenstein making this robot dog for his family, and the narration goes into this whole thing about, like, Vision has a choice here. He can either abandon this, or he can try and pave over it and fix it like humans do. He's going to do the human thing, and it's like, oh, that's such a really poignant way of pointing out a thing that a lot of comedy does, of kind of like the really scary thing about a lot of suburban families is, like, the backstory is, oh, it's a couple that got married right out of high school and they didn't actually love each other, but they felt scared about getting a divorce, so instead they had a kid. Oh, that didn't fix things. Let's have another kid. Oh, that didn't fix things. Let's get a dog.
But there's also the way it's framed in that scene is through computer logic. It's like there's P and there's NP, and it explains it through like a computer logic. And ultimately, it does one thing. It metaphorically obscures what he's saying. It's like, oh no, humans do this too, to an extent. But by obscuring it in computer logic, it frames it as this weird, scary AI thing. But once you realize what he's doing, you go, wait a second, that's a human thing. Especially, I think we haven't talked about directly the entirety of the story because it's much more of a slow burn kind of like, oh shit kind of story.
Mm-hmm. Again, very much like a mystery thriller novel.
Yeah, but it kind of parallels at the end of what the Vision does. So, real quick, spoiler. We haven't spoiled a ton of things, but at the end, basically, his wife goes, no, you're a hero. People need you. You can't take revenge for our family. You are better than that. I will do it for us.
Even though he himself, throughout the whole comic, has been having these huge flashes of like indignance towards the way people are treating and looking at him, which again, another neat thing about this is there's this sort of like underpinned element of portraying racism through people's reactions towards this robot family. Of like when the principal is talking about the son getting suspended, and Vision just stands up and he's like, I am the Vision of the Avengers. I have saved the Earth 37 times exactly. Every breath you take, every beat of your heart is in part thanks to my actions 37 times over. How dare you fucking do this to me?
And then the principal just goes like, he's a piece of metal shaped. He's a gun. And it's like, you get it, but it's also like, dude.
Yeah.
But
that's one of the few cases when reading a comic when the fact that the X-Men exist in this universe has actually been a help, not a hindrance, because it's like, oh yeah, I bet this dude fucking hates mutants too.
Oh yeah. But so the wife basically commits the revenge that the Vision wanted to commit, and says, "But you can't do it because you're a good person. I'll do it." And then she poisons herself. And the Vision's holding her, going like, "Why are you doing this?" And she goes like, "Because if you did it, shit would have gone whack, and you're too good for it. And besides, our daughter needs a father." And as she's dying, he goes like, "You were kind," and she's like, "God damn it, you." Mm-hmm. But then the final panel, we see the Vision doing a very human thing. He's trying to bring her back to life.
Yep, and to my knowledge, he still hasn't in continuity. I think they've been kind enough to leave that ending alone.
But it makes sense to end the comic on that note.
Yeah.
Like, yes, honest to God, I never want to see Virginia and Vincent ever again. Not because I don't think they were good characters. They were brilliant characters. I loved them to death. It's just, they had their beginnings, they had their middles, and they had their end. Mm-hmm. Let the characters breathe. Let them be. God, Viv, I'm glad she stuck around and she's still hanging about.
I hear they've not done great things with her. Like, I have a friend that's read a lot of Mark Waid's Champions, and apparently they really flanderize her in that. But I'm hoping somebody will do something brilliant with her at some point down the line, because she really deserves it.
There's a lot of interesting kind of new detail that you could do with her, especially because I'm pretty sure she's kind of basically a bi robot. She's bi, and all that whole kind of shtick, or like a spy weird thing, mix of all of them. So there's interesting things there. There's things you can do, but we haven't directly talked about any of the plot details of the book.
I mean, it's less of like, you can go into the plot, but it's more like just picking out interesting moments in it. Like, one of my favorite things, you brought up Victor a minute ago. One of my favorite scenes is when Uncle Victor comes to visit and he's talking to him about how great he thinks Shakespeare is. And Uncle Victor is like, yeah, Shakespeare's great, but there's other stuff out there too. You know that? And it's like he's stuck. He's stuck on that one thing because he had one kind of okay experience seeing it, and now it's his whole world. And we've all been there.
Yep. And but basically what happens, so the audience of our listeners can kind of have a framework of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Vision makes his family. They live in Washington, D.C., and he makes two teenagers by mixing his AI code and his wife's AI code to make two new AI beings.
And his wife's AI code, importantly, is based off of the brainwaves of the Scarlet Witch, just like his were based off of the brainwaves of Wonder Man.
Also note, remember, Scarlet Witch is not a mentally sound being half the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure she's manic depressive.
It's entirely possible. I don't know if she's ever been officially diagnosed.
Like, if she hasn't been diagnosed in the comics, I'm pretty sure she's shown enough symptoms that we can at least kind of say she's manic depressive, and that kind of
from the issue of flashbacks to their relationship alone.
Oh yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But basically, they live their happy life. Then, the brother of Wonder Man comes in and goes like, "Y'all bitches are fake. You ain't my brother. Get the fuck out of here." And the mom goes like, "Shit, fuck," and kills them.
Yeah, she just goes straight into Mama Bear mode.
Which, you know what? Understandable. But she then goes into freak out regular person mode and goes like, "Oh shit, I killed a man." Not realizing, A, she's the wife of a superhero. Like, realizing that, if I actually go to people, that it'd be understandable, self-defense, all these kind of things. She immediately went into the most neurotic human thing to do is like, I gotta fucking hide this, which is like throughout this whole book, all the synthesoids, which is what they are, it's a special Marvel brand of android, talk very robotic and very cold, but their actions are some of the most human things possible.
Yeah. Which, again, another little moment I love from that issue with Uncle Victor, when he's talking about Ultron's voice, and he describes it as, like, chips and beeps and squawks inserted completely randomly. I'm like, that's a wonderful detail. That also helps color the way you read not only Ultron, but these characters.
And basically, the story goes, okay, someone saw her bury the body, shit happens there, things just spiral more and more out of control until eventually the teacher of Scarlet Witch goes to the Avengers and goes, all right, so here's the deal. I saw the future, and if things keep going the way they are, Vision's going to fucking go insane and try and kill all of us. We gotta at least try and break this at the head. Like, not necessarily kill Vision, but like figure out what's gonna happen. And remember, this is right before Civil War II, which I think kind of paints some aspects of that story a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because one of the major people who was dealing with it was Falcon Cap. And Falcon Cap and Tony Stark was also a big part of it. And they were going like in Civil War II, shit, don't fuck with future sight bullshit. It's just a headache and it's not worth it. And
Captain Marvel's going like, what? No, it's fine. We get this Inhuman. Look what he can do.
Because in this story, they try and deal with that by sending Uncle Victor to basically be like, hey, just keep an eye out on keep an eye out for us. Just, you don't have to fight him or anything. Just keep an eye out. And he's like, I get to work with the Avengers. I've been wanting this. And he's basically become a robot drug addict, and it's like, oh, this is sad. But like, you like part of this, you kind of see him getting better, and he's being with family. It's all good. But then, oh no, Vision's son sees it and goes like, hey, uncle, what are you doing? And he's like, the most human thing ever. He attacks him.
Yep.
And then Vision sees that and goes like, you motherfucker killed my son. And then the Avengers take care of it and all that kind of shit. And then Vision just sits on it for like a day. And then just goes to his wife and goes, I've thought about it. The most logical thing to do is to kill him. Because he killed our son. And that's a fucked up shit to do. Fuck him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he basically breaks the shield that Tony Stark put on their house to kind of keep them contained, because it's like, shit, this is a fucked up situation. We gotta fucking figure it out. And he fights all the Avengers. And then we've already mentioned what happens at the end. The wife comes in and goes like, no, you're a hero. You can't do this. I'll kill him for us. And then creepy Vision stuff. But damn, this is...
You know what I was really thinking reading this? It's amazing that this came out 4 years ago now. And for the most part, sci-fi writing about robots hasn't caught up to it yet. Like, I'm watching... I haven't been talking about it on the podcast because I've mostly just got bad things to say. I'm still watching Star Trek Picard, and they're trying to do like a robot prejudice story in that, and it's just the most horrible ham-fisted bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Whereas this is like fucking high art by comparison.
I mean, to an extent, though, Marvel's also had several years to deal with AI. I mean, how long has AI been a part of the Marvel comics? Ever since Ultron was first debuted.
Here's the thing. You say this, and I know you're not a big Star Trek guy, so I'm not blaming you, but they're doing it because there's a big famous android character from the show Picard is from, and they're trying to play off of that, like, oh, they took that character and they made thousands and thousands of androids based off of him, and now there's a whole android race and everyone fucking hates them.
Oh no, I realize that, but what I'm saying is the world of Marvel has had more time to gestate on the concepts of AI to where there is a shared understanding of the concept within the Marvel writing room that stories like this can come about. And yeah, that also means we're going to get stories like Iron Man 2020, the current event run, which I find fun, lighthearted romp, even though it's dealing with like AI uprising. But
okay. Yeah, no, I get you now. And I think genuinely that's another problem with Star Trek is it just hasn't had enough consistent media to get to something like this. But it really is just amazing how this is like a bastion of interesting thoughts. And you can tell this is clearly something Tom King was marinating on for a long time. It's not like he just shat this out before he left Marvel for DC. It's like he had this in his back pocket for a long time, and he was like, "Hey guys, I don't want to make you upset, but I'm gonna write. I'm DC's offering me an exclusive contract, and I get to write Batman. I really want to do that, but also I really want to do this Vision series. Can we make that happen before I sign that contract?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Let's do it."
Honestly, I feel like this should be how. I'm going to give you a pitch of how Marvel and DC should run based off of this idea. Because this was a 12-issue maxi series, beginning, middle, and end, for one character.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I think that should be the major norm for most characters in these comics. I'm not saying all of them. Superman, Batman, yeah, no, they should have complete ongoings. That makes sense. They're fun adventure serials. Spider-Man, yeah, that makes sense. Avengers, yeah. JLA, yeah. Hulk, sure. Iron Man, sure. But like, imagine just getting a 12-issue series of name a B-list DC character.
Cyborg.
Yeah, like imagine a 12-issue Cyborg. Martian Manhunter, which just recently wrapped up.
Yeah, that was great.
Like, imagine that's the norm. They just January they start like 5 of them, and then halfway through the year they start 5 more, and they kind of keep that going. There's every 6 months they start another 5, and they end 5 of them. And all the while, you just have a couple ongoing ones to kind of like adventure comics, detective comics, Spider-Man, Captain America, all those kind of things. Not necessarily to fill it out, but to kind of be like, oh, no, these are the ongoing things, which is kind of the major Marvel universe. Everybody kind of pops in here every once in a while. And then these kind of like dive into a character and make a big thing. Maybe even if we were going completely brand new business model, Marvel and DC just stop making big ongoing comics, single issues, and make anthologies. Like every month, you get a brand new Spider-Man comic, a brand new Captain America, a brand new X-Men, all in one big magazine. All the while, in the floppies, they're selling those 12-issue miniseries.
So basically, make American comics like manga, but also the MCU.
Sure, yes. I mean, for at least the superhero model, it makes more sense because then you're getting into a series, you know there's going to be an end. But if you want to just keep up with the ongoing stuff, you can just buy one thing and be good.
Mm-hmm.
And that one thing can be sold in grocery stores and convenience stores and pharmacies and whatnot.
That would be something.
When we start a comic book company, that's how we're going to run it.
Yes, sir.
That's 90% of our conversations. By the way, one day we're going to start a wrestling company.
Okay.
Oh yeah, by the way, one day we're going to be a toy company.
Hey guys, can I get a giant stack of poker chips? We need it in like an hour.
Am I the Kenny Omega of our group?
I think depending on the day, both of us are.
I have the ambition of Cody. You have the drive of Cody, but I have the crazy ideas of Omega.
Yeah, and I have the off-the-wall sense of humor of the Bucks.
Oh man, but Vision, fucking fantastic comic.
It is a modern classic, and that's a term I really hate hearing people say. So for me to say it about something, it's kind of a big deal.
Genuinely, I think it's one of the most well-written bit of comics. Like, goes up there with All-Star Superman, Dark Knight Returns, Marvel's Kingdom Come,
Garfield,
Gorefield. I'm sorry, John.
The unbelievable going. I'm just looking at my shelf trying to think of stupid shit to say. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Yep. But it's just, it's good. It is good. Read it. You don't need to know a ton about the Vision to understand things. And if you know the rough approximation of the Marvel Universe, you'll kind of
honestly, if you just know him from the MCU, I think you could pick this up.
Yeah. Because they fill in everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Because this book was also released right during the time of All New, All Different.
Yeah. Which is fun, seeing cutaways to him working with the Avengers, and it's not a weird Avengers lineup, it's just a really different one for him to be in.
Yeah, because it's Tony Stark. Traditional Tony Stark. Yeah, cool.
Lady Thor.
She's cool.
Falcon Cap.
And he's dope.
Miles Morales.
Yeah, but he's more of like a understudy for a regular Spider-Man.
Kamala Khan.
Yeah, she's cool.
And Nova. Teenage Nova.
Yeah.
Also, Jarvis is there. Because Jarvis is always there.
Yep. But, yeah. That's the only thing that kind of like would specifically date the story within the Marvel Universe. Other than that, like, it's very...
But I mean, like, it no more dates it than... Remember when we read the arc of Iron Man where War Machine debuted? And I was like, what the fuck is this Avengers team? It's just that for this.
Yeah. It's nothing distracting, especially because those were genuinely cool concepts and cool characters, so...
Yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden, like, what the fuck is Slapstick doing in this book?
Comics. I love them. They're great.
Yep.
Want to see if we're going to talk about a comic again next time?
Sure.
Okay, next time on Analytical Fanboys, we will be discussing... Holy shit! Not only is it a comic, it's another Marvel thing, and it's another thing that I put on here, and it's a fucking prequel to this book.
Okay.
Avengers Rage of Ultron.
Alrighty.
Which was a one-shot graphic novel that basically bridges the gap of Avengers pre and post All New, All Different. Because it was supposed to be an arc in that book, but then All New, All Different got decided upon, and he was like, or the writer at the time, I forget who wrote it, but he's just like, shit, I'll just do it as a graphic novel.
Yeah.
But it's a good old Hank Pym and Vision story.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and get on to some what we've been up to this week as we exchange links.
I like this method. It's fun.
Yeah. I'm trying to decipher your list here.
Oh. What are you trying to figure out? A lot of the stuff on top is just like notes I had while I was thinking during the day.
Oh, okay.
Like, listen down as the actual list.
Okay. Oh, you started Marvel Conan. What's that like?
It's very episodic so far. Like, there's no big arc dropped in the first book of like, here's our big ongoing Conan the Barbarian story. No, it's very much Conan's a gladiator. He wins. He goes, all right, pay my shit in money and booze.
Excellent.
And then he runs into a chick and she goes like, hey man, you want to come back to my place? I got booze. And he's like, fuck yeah, boobs and boobs. Booze and boobs. So they start getting heavy. And then she reveals, oh no, she's actually a haggy witch. And she goes like, fuck, you're a witch. I stuck my dick in a witch.
Uh-oh. Don't you hate it when that happens, guys?
But then he realizes, oh, wait a second, she drugged my booze. Oh, shit. And he wakes up and he's like in an altar and she's going like, hi, I drug you down into this cave. I'm going to sacrifice you to my god. And he's like, fuck you. And he just beats his way out of the fucking cave and kills her.
What a magnificent bastard.
And like, honest to God, that was so much fun.
I get the feeling I would fucking love Conan if I just took the time to get into it.
The comics are really good. Like, as long as you understand the core concept of Conan is a barbarian and he just goes around looking for fucking treasure, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very much kind of like one of those things that is probably not a good idea to binge because it's very episodic. I have the hiccups right now.
I mean, didn't it start out as like pulp novels?
Yeah. So to me, the best comparison I can make is it's like Lupin the Third. There's no ongoing story, but if you just want something fun and like that vein, you just pop in an episode and you go like, yeah, fuck yeah. Mm-hmm. You want fun, raucous thievery? You watch Lupin. You want sword and sorcery, big muscular men? You read a Monsieur Conan.
You want weird, goofy, hit and miss sci-fi shit? Watch Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's very much that kind of like episodic stuff. It's really good. So, you fucked around with the Lego Batmobile. I saw you streamed it, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah. I got the specific set I got was called Lego Batman Batmobile Pursuit of the Joker, which I picked up because there's been a couple Lego Batmobiles at this point, but they've all been like super specific. This is the one from this movie kind of a thing. There's not just been like a generic all-purpose Batmobile yet until this thing happened. It's got some elements of the animated series. It's got some elements of the Burton era movies. From the thumbnail, it looks very Burton-y. It's got a little bit of Snyder in it, a little bit of Nolan in it, and also a very classic comic thing of the big dumb bat head on the front that's a battering ram. Perfect. Beautiful. Yeah. It's exactly what I want a Batmobile to be. And I've been wanting a Batmobile for a while, either like a regular toy or like a building set. So I saw this in Target and I was just like, yep, we're getting that. And it's a pretty good, interesting build. It starts off with some basic Technic stuff, and then it's just kind of like constructing the outer black shell around that, which was very interesting. I never got like super confused or like, oh shit, I fucked this up, I have to backtrack 20 steps. It was more like, oh no, this goes this way, I need to redo this step, or where's this piece, that kind of stuff, which is what I look for in Lego. I wouldn't say I'm a novice Lego person, but I'm also not an AFOL. I'm very much in between that. And I also really like the set just because it didn't feel the need to throw in like a smaller sort of dumpy vehicle for the Joker. It's just a Batmobile build that comes with a Batman and a Joker minifig, which is something they very rarely do. It's always like, here's this specific thing from the movie or the comic or whatever we're basing the set off of, and then here's a random thing we made up because we're throwing in this minifig, so the other minifig has someone to fight. but it doesn't make sense that only one of them gets built. I've always thought that's really stupid. I'd rather there be one really nice, satisfying build than one pretty good build and one really dumpy one. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I can get that feel, but like maybe it's kind of Arkham-y, like the Arkham games, like the very first one where Batman's taking the Joker to Arkham.
Yeah,
you could do it like that kind of thing. But
also,
go ahead. Real quick, speaking of Batmobiles, did you see the Robert Pattinson one?
Robert Pattinson, that's the first time I've heard that. That's great.
Yeah, he's the new Batman.
Yeah, I've just never heard that pun, which is fantastic. I like it. I don't love it. Basically, it's that whole thing of like, okay, this is definitely a Batmobile. I can accept this as being a Batmobile. This isn't my Batmobile.
I like it that it's kind of like a muscle car. It's just a car. It's not like a tank or anything.
It really depends on whether it works for the feel of the movie or not, because that's a big thing. Is like you can do all kinds of weird and crazy shit with the Batmobile, but it always has to look right in the world of that story. And I know that's a problem. A lot of people, I don't have this, but I've heard people say that about the Nolan Batmobile of like, it's really weird and out of place in that story. And I've had that reading comics a couple times. I've just seen like weird Batmobile designs that I'm like, why is that in this book? And I get the feeling that this either will be that or this movie is going to be a very different kind of Batman movie, and that Batmobile is going to fit its tone perfectly. And if that is the case, I'm a little more excited for the movie.
Yeah. I was just, this is Batmobile in the news. I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah. Is this Yondu series you read, is this like a current thing or is this old?
Okay, it's a recent thing. It just ended.
All right.
Okay. So, do you know the weird continuity thing with Yondu?
You told me about this last week, I think. Like he's on the original Guardians, but because the new version of Yondu from the movies is so popular, they're retroactively putting him into the current Guardians, and he's that Guardian's ancestor?
Okay. So, the original Guardians of the Galaxy, the first team that went by that name, was from the year 3000. Okay. And there was a character in there called Yondu. Pretty big, famous Marvel character. Well, in terms of Marvel circles. They took the name, they took the character design, and they put him in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And he became really popular. So they took that character and put him in the regular Marvel comics to interact with all the major characters. In a brilliant bit of serendipity, that also means it's 1,000 years before the original Yondu. So they retroactively made that Yondu, the new one, the one based off the movie version, into his direct ancestor. And in this book, the Yondu from the year 3000 comes back to the past to basically bitch slap the current day Yondu and goes, hey, be a better person. And they go on a buddy cop adventure.
Excellent.
Like, there's a brilliant moment where the classic Yondu is going like, hey, where's your ceremonial garb? Threw him out. Where's your arrow? I don't do that sissy whistling thing. Besides, I can't whistle. I got a grill on. And it shows a close-up of his mouth, and it's just a bad boy.
Jesus.
And you slowly learn throughout the book that basically the reason this Yondu's a dick is because he made a mistake as a kid and took a joyride on a car and accidentally destroyed a temple. So all of his family basically went, yep, nope, fuck you. Shaved his fin, which basically is like cutting the whiskers off a cat, which is not a good thing to do. It's a sensory thingamajig. It helps with perceiving the world. So they shaved it off of him, basically ripping it out of his skull, and there's a line and all that kind of stuff. and he's exiled, and he basically has to become a pirate to fend for himself. And basically the young dude from the future goes, yeah, but you go back there and you basically bitch them out and make them become better, because where I'm from, they are better and they don't ever do that kind of shit. And the old young dude's going like, yeah. And then they finish up the adventure, and it's like, oh man, this is only a kind of story you can tell with characters like these, due to this weird, absurd happenstance of continuity that happened because of the Marvel Comics.
Neat.
It's really good. I really liked it.
I might have to look into it if I ever actually get into Guardians comics.
It explains enough within the book itself that you don't need to know a ton about Guardians. Okay. So if you just want to pick it up, you'll be good.
I really want to read the Dan Abnett stuff, like that whole Annihilation saga I've always been interested in. And then also the Gary Duggan run of Guardians that happened recently. I want to read just because Scott Lang is on the team, and I'm like, what the heck is that like?
Guardians have had some weird fucking members. The Thing was a member once. Kitty Pryde was a member. Agent Venom was a member of the Guardians.
Venom the Space Knight.
Yeah. No, that's Agent Venom after you go to the symbiote home planet and the symbiote reconnects with the hive mind and realizes, oh, wait a second. The symbiotes are only crazy when they're disconnected from the hive mind. When they're connected from the hive mind, they're righteous armor for heroes across the galaxy.
Fantastic.
It's perfect. But you read the dystopian novel where everyone's drugged up.
Oh, so you know about this. Okay. We're talking about Brave New World by Aldous Huxley.
I'm gonna admit, when I first saw that name, I thought it was Nick Aldis, and I was like, "What the fuck are you reading?"
It's like it's an in kayfabe propaganda book about how great he is as the champion.
Yeah, and how you shouldn't fetishize Japanese wrestling.
But no, this is a weird, like, it simultaneously comes off as boomer as fuck and millennial as fuck, because it's like the first half of the book is very much coming off like an old person trying to write about this is what society is turning into and it's terrible and scary, and I'm like, yeah, there's some fucked up shit in here, but also a lot of like things I agree with. And then once you get to like the Savage Reservation, as they call it, which just basically means people who live like we do now and have the beliefs we do now, but they're more tribalistic. And then it feels like he's making fun of the past, and the way it ends, it doesn't feel like he's calling for there's a middle ground here we need to reach. It's kind of just like every way of thinking and living is fucked up. Humans are fucked up. We're all bad, and it's like, if that was the point to this book, then it almost feels like there was no point to this book.
Yeah, it's one of those like very classic dystopian novels that I think later authors kind of can pick and choose bits and parts and go like, yeah, but what about this part? Because, I mean, this was written, what, 60s? 50s?
I think so, yeah. It's very much got that tone about it, because everything is... all the voices of the main characters, except for the one Savage boy who joins the cast about halfway through, they all are sort of written to be very posh British people from that sort of time period.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a classic in sci-fi. It's one of those things that you need to know about it for understanding sci-fi literature.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I read it. One of the PCP guys actually, way back when I was super into the PCP around the time of RadCon 1, talked about it on the podcast and sort of recommended it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll look at that eventually. Let's put it on my Audible wish list. And I just recently renewed my Audible subscription after having not used Audible for like 8 months. So I was like, yeah, let's finally get to this. And it was a weird experience, especially because I was listening to this at work mostly.
Oh.
So like, just picture me like squatting down and picking up big things of 12 by 12 floor tile, and occasionally just going like, "What the fuck?"
Alrighty then. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a moment. I had a bit of time like that when I was we were working on stuff for a play, and I was listening to American Gods by Neil Gaiman.
Oh.
And you've either listened to
I've read that book. Yeah, I've listened to it.
It's very dreamy, very dream logic, and like whenever I took my headphones out, I'd be like, "Shit, what the fuck? Oh god!" Oh, it was like waking up because you were so in a dreamscape listening to it.
Wait, what just happened? Something about a car and a lake? Huh?
Yeah, so I understand that feel, bro.
Yeah. What are them Savage Avengers up to?
Do you know what the Savage Avengers are?
I know them in name only.
Okay, you're about to hear one of the best dumb shit Marvel's doing right now.
Yeah!
This is a team book featuring the Punisher, Elektra, Brother Voodoo, Venom, Wolverine, and Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, I have heard of this. Okay, yeah, I saw pictures I saw the cover when this was first solicited. It's just, oh, I love comics.
It's like, why is Conan in modern day working with Wolverine? I don't know. The first issue didn't explain it. He's just in the savage land looking for goddamn treasure.
Just shut up. Just shut up. It's Conan and Wolverine fighting bad guys. It's awesome.
Oh no, and they fought they did the superhero team up thing where they fought each other, and Conan like stabs Wolverine in the heart because he can get through the ribs, and Wolverine falls down, and Conan goes like, "Yeah, fuck you." And then Wolverine stands back up and he goes like, "You're a fucking devil." And then they fall down a cliff. And by falling down a cliff, they come to an understanding and respect. And Conan goes like, "Yeah, no, I'm looking for treasure." And Wolverine goes like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm not looking for treasure. I'm looking for someone else." And they're like, "Okay, cool. Good luck with your treasure hunt." Yeah. Good luck with your thing. And then they part, and it's just like, oh, the best.
I feel like that's just I feel like that's just how Wolverine normally meets people.
But the book ends with the Punisher going to his wife's grave, and someone done fucked up because someone dug it up.
Oh shit.
And Brother Voodoo's going around doing some shit. He gets wrapped up in it because there is an ancient blood cult in the Savage Land sacrificing people. And that's kind of where the book ends. Like, Brother Voodoo's like, "Oh no, I'm about to be killed." Wolverine's searching around places, and Conan's there, and Punisher's going like, "Someone fucking touched my wife."
Okay, so since I don't know about him and he's in this book, this might be a good time to ask about this. Is Brother Voodoo just Doctor Strange but Cajun?
The proper term would be Creole.
Okay.
You do know there's what the difference is, right?
Not really.
Cajun was the poor white people. Creole was the mixed race of people that came in that were part of New Orleans. Very similar. They work together a lot, but it's a different kind of, not necessarily cultural identity, but like there's a separation in cuisine and some like culture and some language and everything. It's not like it's like fuck you. It's just more of like no. We're Cajun. They're Creole. We're Creole. They're Cajun. It's more of like no, we're different. We're just different.
It's a distinction rather than a line in the sand.
Yeah. Like, but you call something the other thing when you're dealing with like food. Like there was a. You've watched Binging with Babbage, haven't you?
I watch it on and off, just whenever a video interests me.
Well, he did a video about Cajun cooking. It's just the basics. Like, here's how you cook some Cajun stuff, and he got a very preeminent Cajun chef on to help him, and he's like really fun. He does a lot of internet things. Isaac Toops. And at the end of the video, there's a blooper reel where every take, Babish would accidentally say Creole cuisine, and Isaac would basically go Cajun. And it happened like several times, and eventually one time, as a joke, he said Creole cuisine. Isaac just grabbed a knife and said Cajun. But yeah, no, Brother Voodoo is basically super powerful magic dude, but voodoo.
All right.
So yeah, he has voodoo dolls and shrunken heads and all that kind of stuff, but he's a good guy and he's kind of cool.
Nice.
Like, if you're into the magic side of the Marvel Universe, he's like a pretty big figure and pretty popular.
Literally, the only thing I know him from is an issue of, well, it's some fucking comic during. No, it was of Falcon Cap, an issue of Falcon Cap from Civil War II, dealing with Rhodey's death. And there's just a meeting of all the black superheroes, and Brother Voodoo was there and had a couple lines.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. If you want to have a magic dude, but you don't want to have Doctor Strange in the book because, it's Doctor Strange, I want to have someone else, you get Brother Voodoo.
Okay.
He's that kind of character. Well loved, well respected, but like, he's the B-lister.
Yeah.
But we did see his brother in the MCU.
What's his brother?
The black dude in the New York building who got killed.
Oh!
Yeah, that's his brother. And that's kind of significant, specifically because Brother Voodoo's has the shrunken head of his brother as part of his power set.
Interesting.
So now that he's dead, Brother Voodoo can come in and go like, "Brother, your head, I'll shrink it."
That's exactly what he says too. That's the delivery and everything. Brother, your head, I'll shrink it.
No, here's the funny thing. You couldn't see it, but when I was saying I'll shrink it, I was like putting like cupped my hands and put my fingers together.
Yes.
I'll shrink it.
This is a hilarious episode so far.
We make the jokes. I make jokes. I am a joke.
You're a jokey boy.
But speaking of jokes, the putties.
Oh, yes. I finally went and caved and ordered from BBTS the Lightning Collection Fighting Spirit. I had to think of the name. Fighting Spirit, Green Ranger, and
we were fighting heroes and a
good. It's that Green Ranger and a putty. And I cannot believe how impressed I am with them, because like, you think, oh, I've had one Green Ranger, I've had them all, I'm just getting him to put them on the shelf. And initially I was like, I'm going to skip this and I'm going to wait for a single pack release of the putty, because I don't care what anyone says, that's going to happen at some point. It's inevitable. And then the wave after that, they'll do a single pack Z putty. I know it.
I just want a single pack for like every mook, because fuck, imagine the army you could build with just all the different mooks.
Shouldn't that just be like a prerequisite for every wave, just one mook?
That'd be fun. Imagine the Dino Mooks from Dino Thunder.
Oh yeah, what were they called?
I can't remember. All I remember is the bad guys was Mesogog, and he had really good lip action.
They're like the terror drones.
Terror drone, yeah.
Get like 5 of them and maybe 2 Triptoids.
I went full Tim Allen there.
You kind of did, but no, they're good. They're good figures. Like the Green Ranger is really fun to pose, especially because I'm viewing. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I bought this one specifically to be my evil Green Ranger. He's on the side of the shelf with the villains, and when they do the inevitable non-silver striped one, I will get that, and that'll be my good Green Ranger. So I mostly was posing him in like villainous stuff and with the Sword of Darkness, which he does come with. And he feels super solid. He's everything about the MMPR body that you like and that I like. And it's a version with the shield, and it's good, and I like it. And he comes with a hand specifically to pose him like he's playing the flute. That's great. Yeah. But the putty is really the star of the show, just because it has all the articulation of the normal figures, but it's completely solid, and none of that articulation is encumbered. Like, you can get him into some truly weird and wacky poses. The sculpting on the hands is great, and you can swap them out for, like, a part where it's like his hand has morphed into a wrecking ball, and a part where it's like a knife. He can do, like, T-1000 shit. And it's super fun to pose him with, because it takes it from being just like a generic mook that's there to get kicked off screen to like, oh, I could actually see one of these being a threat if it only had a brain.
Yeah,
it's a super fun figure to mess around with, and I'm happy I have one now. Now, Hasbro, hurry up and do the single pack release so I can buy 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, that's gonna be the only problem. The cool thing though with the accessories that I thought about is like, yeah, but then when you have an army, you also have like, you can make them a little bit different and varied, so it's like more dynamic and everything.
Yeah.
The only bad thing is do that bug doesn't have like a plug for a flight stand, so you can have them being kicked and flied off.
It does not, but you could also use like the grabby arm for a flight stand if you wanted to.
Yeah, but like grabby arms, they can weaken.
That's true.
But yeah, yep.
Good toy. What's this Ghostbusters comic?
Ooh, okay. So it's basically, instead of like a retelling of the first movie, it's the framing device is a person coming to interview the 4 main Ghostbusters after the events of the first movie, and going like, okay, so what's it like being a Ghostbuster? And they tell some stories that happened like in the montages of the first movie of them like busting ghosts.
Oh, that's a cool concept. That's like world building and shit.
Yeah. And so the first one is about Winston Zedmore, the black Ghostbuster who comes in later on halfway through the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And he's basically going like, yeah, no, I was hired. This was what I was doing before. I was a Marine, then I was in construction, and then I came here. And then he goes on to explain his first ghostbusting event, which happened 2 days after he was hired. And he's going like, yeah, no, I spent 15 minutes shooting proton packs at pumpkins, and then Ray said I was good. And like there's a scene with him, and you got to remember, this guy's a former Marine. And so Ray's going like, oh man, you got it. You got the hang of it. All right, let's do this. And he's like, dude, this is a major weapon. I've used it for like 15 minutes. I need more.
An unlicensed nuclear accelerator on your back.
And Ray just goes like, nah, you fired at a pumpkin, you're good. And then they go on the busting mission, which is basically like a college saying like, oh, we're being haunted by Edgar Allan Poe. And Winston rightly points out, didn't Edgar Allan Poe die in Baltimore? And they give a great explanation for why they can do it like this. It's like, my speaker keeps doing that. Edgar Allan Poe's spirit was so strong in his death that places that had strong attachments to him have like basically their own ghost versions of Edgar Allan Poe. So it's neat like that. So Winston's Ed Morgan, and they all go into the building and they find Edgar Allan Poe, but he puffs into a thing of ravens and he goes out the door. And then you see Winston running and you're going like, oh shit, he was scared. And then as he's running out the front door, he goes like, quick guys, he's running away. We got to go after him. And you go like, shit, fuck yeah, that's dope. And then they have like a big battle in the middle of a park to beat a ghost. And that's it. That's the end of the story. But it's just like, that's a fun little element that's neat and added to his character of like, oh, in the face of his first paranormal activity, he runs headlong to finish the job. It's like, yeah, that's cool.
I also just really love that whole training thing you talked about, because like, well, we've talked about this before. Ghostbusters isn't my thing, but I appreciate it. I get it. There's a lot of things about it that I'm like, yeah, that works. That's a good idea. It just doesn't click with me. And one of those things is I really like the way they played him in the first movie of they're just a bunch of schlubby exterminators and they don't really have good business practices, but they're still going to take up for themselves and be like, no, we're doing the right thing here. Don't fuck with us. And that's really shown in like their training is just, can you shoot it without taking out the wall behind this? Okay, you're good.
Yeah, and like the way they describe Peter Venkman is great, because it's just like, no, he's a car salesman. That's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's a beautiful moment where they didn't capture the Edgar Allan Poe ghost; they captured a different ghost. But the Edgar Allan Poe ghost isn't in the college anymore. And Peter Venkman goes, "Yep, we did our job. The job was just to get him out of the school. It wasn't to capture him. It was just to get him out of the school." And it's just like, that really just shows that kind of like difference in character. That's just great.
Mm-hmm.
And plus the art's really good. It's really a heavily stylized cartoony version of the Ghostbusters, but they still look like the actors. Like,
nice.
It's not like a complete representation. It's like a mix between a modern cartoon style, the 80s cartoon, and the actors' look. So it's like a nice mix between all three of them.
Yeah.
So Universal Ghostbuster. Yeah. So you still on that Hiroaka?
I am still reading through Hiroaka slowly but surely. Kind of doing one issue per day, lunch at work, kind of a thing. And we're still smack dab in the middle of trapped at the training facility. A bunch of villains are attacking Thing. I'm up to number 16, and I've enjoyed it so far. I really liked the moment where Midoriya figures out a way to make his frog girl, whose name I can't pronounce, and ball guy. He figures out a way to make all three of their powers work together really well. That was a cool moment.
So you're in the ultimate space for jams.
Yes.
See, there, like, real quick, let me explain why I just said that. Because when the manga was first coming out and it was only being fan translated and not officially translated by Viz,
mm-hmm.
the people who were translating it, the space, called it the ultimate space for jams. Get it? Space Jam.
Oh, Jesus.
That's not the best translation of it, but it's always been like a little, like, I just like calling it that. It's just a fun name.
That's great. I like that.
Yeah.
What I didn't like, however, my first real problem I've had with this book, in chapter 16, there's a fan service moment. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or should I explain?
It's been so long. It's been so long since I've read that. What was it?
Okay, so we get a scene of the class representative lady,
Momo.
the girl who has like her power is that she has cords coming out of her ears.
Oh, no. That's a different girl. Momo's the girl who can make any object out of fat.
No, that's who I'm talking about. And
Cord Girl has a different powers. Oh, you're saying
they're in the same scene.
Right.
And they're also with Lightning Guy, and Lightning Guy is going like, my power's useless because if I discharge it, I'll also hurt you guys. I have no control over where it goes. And then Cord Girl just kicks him into somebody and goes, be a human taser. I thought that was hilarious. What I didn't think was hilarious was a minute later when the girl who can make anything out of body fat creates like a plastic sheet for her and the other girl to duck under, and she's like, just unleash all your energy right now, take them all out, and we'll be fine. And he does it, and then she gets up, and somehow her top has been completely disintegrated by the lightning, and there's a word balloon covering them, but it's clear that she's bare-chested, and Cord Girl is like, oh, you're having a wardrobe malfunction, and she's like, it's fine, I can make more clothes. And then it cuts to the Lightning Guy, and it explains like a drawback of his quirk is if he unleashes all his energy, it causes his brain to get fried, so he's a complete idiot for like an hour or two, and he's just staring at her like, boobies. And I was like, okay, I get the joke, but I don't feel like it was earned, and I don't really feel like it was diegetic, because how did the plastic not protect her top from getting destroyed? I don't see.
That's not how her top. Like, here's the thing. Remember, her power is she can make things from fat. So the larger surface of skin area she has, the bigger the object she can make. She took her shirt off herself.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm not saying that explains it.
The one girl said, like, you have a wardrobe malfunction, so I assumed it got destroyed, not she did it herself.
Once you see what her hero costume looks like, you kind of understand she is kind of, like, I'm not excusing the fan service. It is there. That is what the scene was to do. But that's kind of, like, if she's exposing more skin, that's 9 times out of 10 the reason why, is because she needs to make a bigger object.
Yeah, and I should also like just reiterate for anyone who's not used to hearing me talk about stuff like this, generally speaking, I don't mind fan service. I'm a fan myself, but the thing is, it needs to be earned and it needs to feel diegetic in the scene, or else I call bullshit. And I kind of didn't feel like it was either of those things in this scene. Maybe I just need to reread it. I mean, you're bringing up some good points here, Chris. I just felt like that needed to be said.
And I will say this, the amount, like, the kinds of fan service that we get, there are some dumb bits in the book, but it does get more understandable as it goes on. The reasons for it become more nuanced in the story.
Yeah, and I mean, we've gotten moments in the book that I'm fine with. Like, there was a moment early on when Midoriya was like freaking out around Uraraka, and he's like, I'm talking to a girl, this is weird, this is crazy, and there's like a glory shot of Uraraka, and it's like, okay, it's from his perspective trying to get across the way he feels right now, that's fine. And also, in that issue I was talking about where Midoriya, Frog Girl, and Ball Guy all figure out a way to use their powers together, right after that, there's a scene when they're in the water, or maybe it was a little bit before that, I don't remember. But Frog Girl is kind of helping Ball Guy to safety because he can't swim, and he's like staring at her chest, and you see a thought balloon going like, man, even though she looks kind of weird in her face and her legs, she's got an excellent rack. And it's like, well, this character's meant to be a perv, and that's only him saying it to himself in his head. That's fine.
Yeah. Also, eventually, that becomes part of their relationship. Is he says something pervy, and Frog Girl just slaps him.
Excellent.
That's like a semi-running joke.
I'm looking forward to that. I also do like the running joke of people calling her by what to us would be her first name, and she's going, no, call me by my family name.
I think it's the other way around. I think she wants to be called by her real first name, because I think Viz keeps that last name first name.
Oh, okay.
I think in their translations they do that. Hold on. Let me Google her character profile to see.
Yeah. And I have been reading the character profiles in between the chapters too, and those have been a lot of fun. Especially, and hey, that's helpful to this conversation we've been having, and this is me stalling so you can Google. There's a moment when there's a character profile for Ball Guy, and the offer's like, yeah, I know, I meant for this guy to be kind of like a weird, trivially kind of weird guy and not have that useful of a power because he's a joke character. He's the pervert of the group, and I myself like perverts, but I know we're weird. And I need that character to look weird so people get it.
Yeah, her name is Suyu Asui. And her family name is Asui.
Yeah, okay. She keeps telling people to call her Suyu.
Yeah, Suyu is her first name.
Another thing I did like that I've noticed as a reoccurring thing of those character profiles, he more often than not will say about a female character, she was originally going to be a guy, but we thought we needed more girls in the group, so I just changed the design. And that explains why so many of I like the female designs a lot more in this series than I do the male. Like the male ones aren't bad, but like a lot of the best character designs are like Uraka, Suyu, what's her name who has the ear gimmick. I really like all those designs. I can name like 2 of the male characters who I'm like, oh, that design is great. And I kind of feel like more manga should do that in order to make that a thing, because like as much as I'm a Naruto fan, I'll admit Sakura has a pretty bland design.
Oh yeah, and I think that also helps with like character power set because, hey, they just came up with the power and everything first, and then they went, oh, let's just make it a girl. So you get weirder powers for some of these girls.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't make them pretty.
Like Suyu would look completely different in any other manga. They try and make her look really cute, but the thing that makes her cute is that she looks so weird. So they drew her that way in this book, which is great.
She looks like a frog. And then like all the powers are weird. Like you got Tape Boy, you got the guy with the bird head.
So it's good stuff.
Yeah.
What's another thing on your list we can talk about? So, is there anything about the Excalibur interview you wanted to talk about outside of what we did off mic?
No, it's just more of like, damn, that's really cool. PWG, I didn't realize he was that involved and created that much behind it, and he's still doing it. Like, damn, man.
Yeah. I also did like how they never talked about the mask like it was weird. They were always talking about how good the mask can be for him.
Oh yeah, and I also love the amount of respect he has for JR and Tony and Taz, and basically going like, yeah, no, the way it works is basically if it's an older style match, JR does play-by-play. If it's a newer style match, I do, but we don't like plan it out. It's just more like that's how we can call a match.
I also love the little tidbits about like JR and Tony helping him develop catchphrases.
Oh, it was like the when he was explaining like JR loves when I say Tope Suicida, and like whenever something like that happens in the match, he just looks at me and goes, "Come on, kid, come on!" And it's like, "Fuck yeah, come on, JR."
Yeah,
it just makes me enjoy the commentary booth that much more because it just feels like a bunch of dudes like genuinely working together and not just shouting catchphrases willy-nilly.
And all of Van Vliet's interviews that I've listened to lately, except for one that I won't go into because I don't want to just start shitting on someone. All of his interviews do feel that way. Like I highly recommend, even if you don't want to watch every interview, subscribe to Chris Van Vliet. If you see him interview someone you like, listen to that interview later as a podcast. It's a really good time. I listen to his interviews quite a lot.
Probably the most in-depth interview with Orange Cassidy.
Yes. And the only other thing that I think even comes close to that kind of content is, just to bring this up real quick, the new AEW podcast, AEW Unrestricted. That's surprisingly freeform. Like it's not super. We have to hit these bullet points and talk about. Excuse me. We have to talk about this thing that's going on right now that involves this person we're interviewing. It's more just like, let's talk about you and what kind of person you are and what your interests are. Like Moxley was on and they did talk about WWE a good bit, but it never went in full fuck WWE mode. It was more so just like, no, this was my experience there. It wasn't great, and that's why I'm here now. And Cody was just on the second episode, and they spent the entire middle portion just talking about Star Trek and Star Wars.
Of course, fucking Cody and Audrey would do that. Aubrey.
And I love the distinction of, like, they were talking about The Mandalorian, and Cody keeps referring to it as the child, and Tony, because he only knows it through memes, Tony Schiavone keeps going Baby Yoda.
Gotta love sci-fi Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yep, it's a thing I'm looking forward to checking out eventually someday.
Yee. So we've been at this at about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I think it's about time to cut it. Why don't you go ahead and plug some shit?
I don't want to plug shit. That goes in the toilet. But I will talk about the stuff I do on the internet.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Chris Boingo Writer Gaston, and I make things. I do YouTube. You can see my videos on YouTube at Boingo Writer. I do Twitter. I kind of don't do Twitter, but you can follow me there at Boingo_Writer. You can follow me on Instagram at Boingo_Writer. And if you want, you can join my Discord server. A link to that is in the description below. I'm the Vacuuminator. I make videos? I don't know. They're like toy reviews or something. I've got one I'm working on right now. It's kind of on hold because I got a shit going on. I'm a busy guy, but I like making videos when I have time. I like doing this podcast when I have time. You can find my stuff at youtube.com/thevacuuminator. I don't know, give me money on Patreon or something. But what I really want you to do, what I really need you to do, is I need you to listen to more of this podcast. This podcast is a production of Modular Media, a free C, which Chris knows the meaning of. I can never keep it straight, but that's fine. It's a good time. You've listened to a whole episode now. I'm sure you like it. And if you don't, what's wrong with you? Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell to enable notifications. Like, comment, all that good YouTube stuff. You want to listen to us on the go? Of course you want to listen to us on the go. Download an MP3 from the Google Drive folder that is linked in the video description. Keep up with the updates on the show. Follow us on social media at the Modular Media on Twitter and r/Modular Media on Reddit. But that's going to do it for this episode now, folks. So we'll see you next time when we'll be discussing Avengers Rage of Ultron. Rage against the machine? Bro, I've got such a raging Ultron right now. Fuck off.